All right, and in a moment, near death in the Antarctic, a local man's tale of survival. 30-degree below zero temperatures and 100-mile-per-hour winds are what local adventurer Richard Larond and his guide battled during a recent climb of Antarctica's Mount Vincent. A rare and near-deadly blizzard swept over the mountain, and in the thick of it all, Larond shot some of the storm from inside his tent. Here's a look.
We're not having instant oatmeal again, are we?
Well, if we don't get this thing done soon enough, we're not going to have any other food left.
No. Okay. All right, we'll go up tomorrow. We're going up tomorrow, right?
Okay,
Summit tomorrow. All right,
yeah.
Good. Good plan.
So here is our intrepid explorer, Richard Larond, eating his tomato soup. How does it taste?
It's really good.
Yeah. That's amazing what those Chileans can do with instant packages, isn't it?
I think it's more like hunger.
Having made it out safe and sound, Walpole resident / lucky to be alive mountain climber Richard Larond is here. Welcome.
Thank you.
First of all, that tent looks bigger than half the hotel rooms I think I've ever stayed in.
Oh no, it's very small. It's about 7 feet long, 5 feet wide, and only about 4 feet high.
You also look a lot happier than a man who thought he was about to die, because I understand that at one point you got on a satellite phone and you called your wife and said goodbye. So you really thought you were going to not make it out?
Well, I thought we were going to make it. It was a matter of we were in a tough spot, and I suppose it's like if you're going in for an operation, you kind of talk to people before you do it, and it was that kind of thing. I wasn't expecting. I was hoping to get through it fine, but there's always a chance.
I mean, tell me how you felt up there, because obviously those frigid temperatures. We heard the wind rattling in the background. Mm-hmm. You hadn't had food except for what we saw in quite a while. What were your own personal physical feelings?
Well, it really wasn't till the end that we really started to get concerned. It was a matter of we were waiting. We were waiting there for 5 days, and the first few days, just waiting for the wind to quit so we could go and summit. We were very close to the summit and waiting for the wind to die. And then we ran out of food, and then the winds got even worse, and eventually they told us we had to get off the mountain because the tents were coming apart.
But you couldn't get off the mountain.
Well, we did get up. That's what we did, is we finally just left the tent, put on all our clothes, and walked down. It was...
But you didn't do that alone, I understand.
I did that with my guide, Chris Simmons, and I. We were walking down the mountain and had some trouble, and 10 Austrian climbers came along and gave us some assistance.
So what if they hadn't come along? Do you think you still would have made it down?
I think I still would have made it, but it would have been very difficult.
Now, we should back up. I mean, this is sort of a fascinating story, because about, 4 or 5 years ago, you were 100 pounds overweight and
yes.
diabetic and high blood pressure,
right. So
you decided to start doing this. I mean, some people do diets or something a little bit simpler in order to lose weight and get healthier.
Well, I've always been fascinated with polar exploration, and even as a child, and I always loved the snow and storms. And this was kind of an idea I could lose weight by having a goal. It was originally going to the North Pole, and that was a reason and a way to lose weight, training to go to the North Pole.
Yeah, your training. I heard you were running up and down your stairs with 50 pounds of sand and a knapsack.
Yeah, I'd put a backpack on and in the morning and do 50 flights with 50 pounds of sand in a backpack, and that was one of the ways I got ready for climbing Mount Vincent.
Now, we should also explain that the reason we say it was a rare blizzard, and I was surprised to learn this, that there isn't much snow there. Why is that?
Well, in central...
terms of storms, I mean.
Well, Antarctica is the coldest, driest, windiest place on Earth, but it only gets a couple of inches of snowfall every year, because it is very dry. And, but it's so high because the snow has been building up for thousands of years, even that 2 inches each year. And eventually, it's so thick that it's actually 2 miles deep.
And I guess the scientists and the meteorologists there termed it the storm of the century.
Yes, well, they got about 3 feet of snow, and when you only get 2 inches a year, that's quite the storm. Yeah.
So why Mount Vincent?
It's in Antarctica. It's the tallest mountain on the continent, and I had already been last year. I went to Antarctica to ski to the South Pole, and it was a wonderful experience. And I wanted to go back and do something in Antarctica again, and the obvious thing was to climb Mount Vincent.
Aren't the conditions there always pretty treacherous, though, in terms of wind and getting around?
Well, the first few days we were there, the weather was beautiful, and we climbed without any difficulty, and was having a great experience. And we got to high camp and set up, and we're just waiting for suddenly the wind came along. We were waiting for the wind to die out so we could summit. But it depends on it all depends on the wind and the temperature, what you're going to experience when you're in Antarctica.
Well, it's got to be a little bit bizarre and surreal, too, given that there is, sunlight 24 hours a day.
Yes.
At the time that you were there?
Yes, you have to wear shades over your eyes. You have to, and when it was windy, we had to use earplugs to keep out the sound of the tent blowing in the wind.
So what's next for you?
Well, I don't know exactly, but I do have a ticket to go on Virgin Galactic spacecraft with Richard Branson's. And I'm going actually next week to start some training for that. So.
Do you need a companion, a colleague that you want to go along with you? I'd happily volunteer.
Yeah.
What is your wife allowing you? She's not forbidding anything else?
She's been wonderful about this. Every time I've said I want to do something else, she says, great, go ahead.
Well, Richard Lerond, you can call me next week if you need somebody to help you sharing your story with us.
You're welcome.
All right, that's it for Greater Boston. Tomorrow night, oil prices are at an all-time high. That much we know, but we'll trace the ripple effect through the economy. And a rare Siberian gull has been making its way around Massachusetts, and birders are abuzz. Emily will be back with that and more tomorrow at 7. I'm Jared Bowen. Good night.
Greater Boston is made possible on GBH